Roll call, we got myself, Mario, Gary's here, Casey's here, Doug's here, Pat's here, Kathy's here, Donna's here. Wilson's here, Sue F is here. John is on a Zoom, Fiona's here, Ellen's here. Dan is here, Mike Zerio is here, Kemp is here, Rachel's here, and Dean is here. Okay,
Did you mention me?
what?
Did you say me?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Of course,
Thank
Rob.
you.
How can we forget?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't. Yeah.
light up the light.
Yep.
Okay, approval of the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda as is. Any changes? The only change it's not a change. In your additional packet I gave you, there's 2 additional bills that were sent the other day, so I made copies of you. That's just bills. And then the other thing is, Dan forgot to give me his course sheet, and I gave you that. That's there. And then I gave you the pictures. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Second. Gary, sorry. Any change? All in favor? I opposed, okay. Approval of minutes, I know that Dan has one change.
In reading through the minutes, I did note under item 6, letter A, in the second to last line, it refers to the construction technology room. The estimate is now 160K and not 125K. I know I spoke to both things at the last meeting, but those dollar figures represent the revised cost for the area H locker room changes, not the lower level, not the construction tech space. So if we were to strike construction technology room and insert area H locker room changes, that would correct the minutes.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes with that change from Dan? I don't know what's in. Okay. Yeah. Doug was here,
Make a motion, Doug.
Doug.
I,
Okay,
I,
and Donna.
I'll second.
seconds, okay. And abstain, we have.
Pat, Gary,
And Casey.
and Casey,
Kathy.
Kathy, and Fiona. All the world travelers.
Yeah. Okay. And the only one who came back sober was Casey. Oh,
Oh, no. Oh,
took a while to sober up.
okay.
that was a big gathering.
Yeah, very good. Over 110 people from US went over there.
Went over.
Unbelievable.
To the
Wow.
reunion, yeah, that's great.
There's McKenna's on every tree. They're everywhere. Yeah.
So we have, everybody, accept that, except the people abstain, all in favor? I opposed, okay. Public participation, nobody's here. Okay, Dan, first up.
Okay, so speaking to progress for the month, in your packet is the commentary. I can run through, typically, starting in area B. First on my note is that the cement fiber panel installation is complete. Those are the panels that are not in that photograph. What you're looking at in the photograph is the fellow that's doing a DFIS system at the underside of the socket. That work is now complete. So you're looking at the back of the building, just to the, I guess if you drew line of sight directly over the aerial lift basket, that would be the construction technology roll-up door. So that's generally where you are behind the building. Also completed is the DOSs that service area A and B, 1, 2, and 3 pipe started running. With the work related to the lower level, which I'll just give you a heads up that the gyp board now proceeding through the lower level. We've started on the pond end of the site, or the west end of the site for us. Drywall is complete now there and moving towards the construction technology. All of the drywall in the lower level is now hung. And painting has started in that lower level, closest to the pond. Just for notes here, 4th floor plumbing fixtures in progress. All the other plumbing fixtures are finished. exception of a couple that just arrived for the first floor. Fourth floor quarter paint was complete. Basically, the finishes in the building are now complete. We've walked the building, or the photograph that you see there is room signage. I think if we move ahead a photo, you'll see a clean room, and punched out. So where your A and B classroom sections of the building are, from the second floor through the fourth floor, we've walked the building with SLAM and with BL companies. We've generated our punch list for those completed areas at this time. Trades are running back through the space to knock down what is about a 900 item list that we have developed thus far. The picture you see is a typical classroom. The silver bag that you see is covering up the smart board. That was a room that we had done a mock-up of a completed AV system. AV systems are provided outside of my contract. We're just coordinating with the trade as we bring power and PA system interface to that devices. But that's what it is. We're finished now. We've cleaned down the corridors. We've moved. The only activity left in that portion of your building, is on the first floor, where they're final cleaning now, and they're running the corridor flooring. So just some more eye candy. This is the shot of the third floor corridor. And that moves us, I think, ahead to area A. So area A, our sunshade installation, those would be the vertical fins on the face of that curtain wall system, are complete at this time. Metal wall panels are complete on the slope, on the fascia. I think the last thing that is to be done on the face or facade of the building is to put the letters, Torrington High School. I have here main entry vestibule storefront window systems are installed. We'll get to a picture of that. The old business first floor to above ceiling inspection was completed, so all the overhead work is finished. It mentions in my report that the elevator lobby wasn't done at the time of the end of the month, but it is now done. Fourth floor plumbing installation is complete, door installation complete, similar situation. Carpet was being installed at the time of the writing and at the time of this photograph, but it is now complete. So the photograph that you see on the screen is the carpeting being installed from right to left on the screen. The ceiling tile, that is the patterned and trapezoidal shapes and triangle shapes and light fixtures that actually fit within the ceiling grid system.
It's unbelievable. The carpet's finished. It's beautiful. And the lights that are in the grid are unbelievable. It's really.
It's a nice one. And so let's see, I move ahead to stair one flooring installation in progress. Stair one flooring is now complete. The photograph that Mike has just put on your screen would be what you see when you walk in the front door. So to your left is the transaction window, bulletproof transaction window. And then you have the opportunity to get buzzed into the office. That's the door directly adjacent, or buzzed in, or the kids go through the main set of double doors that take you into the building. That's where flooring operations are currently underway, and we're moving our way from the front door towards the cafeterias. Next item, visual image, is the ACM panels or MCM panels. Those are composite metal panels being installed over the storefront at the corridor that is to the auditorium. That work is now complete. The roofers come back and actually terminated the roof cap in that location as well. A lot of site work has been completed pulling away from the building. Let's see, the projection screen plaster system, which unfortunately I don't think we have a picture of here. Maybe on the drone shot you'll be able to see. It's just up to the right. That is now plastered and cured. We have the painter coming in to finish and put the projection grade paint over the finish of that stucco system. And that finishes that area. I also mentioned the academic arts overhead work is complete. Stage gypboard installation is in progress. I mentioned in the report that the stage is finished. The stage got finished, painted black. The rigging trade, which is your curtain rigging, has been on site for just about 2 weeks. He's got another 10 days. There were some parts that had to be reordered. But he finishes and then we have lined up lighting to be installed on that rigging. And then we start the stage floor. So the photograph you see is if you were standing on the stage and looking out towards the auditorium. If you were to look at that space today, which I think we have a more current photograph, everything is sheetrock. With the exception of the architectural sails that are on the sides, which are in progress. We'll see a photo of that. Next photo is letting you know we brought the signage guy in, so signage is on the door going into the auditorium. If I move ahead to. Is it the right one? That is.
Watch yourself, Jack.
Okay, Area D decorative stair system is complete. There'll be a picture of that. Cafeteria lighting. Finished in the middle school, similar to what we did in the high school, those large diameter hoop lights. Kitchen equipment installation ongoing. Service terminations are complete actually at this time. We've now gone into the space and stripped all of the protection. We're now last items of completion in there. We actually did enclose that area with tarps to make sure that when we sand the floors of the cafeterias, that the dust doesn't go into the space. We had a preliminary walkthrough with the health department just to try to preempt anything that they might see that they may want. Quite often, they might want an extra hand wash. But we don't have to add an extra hand wash. The only item they came up with was adding signs in the restrooms that say, all employees have to wash their hands before returning back to work. So it was a good meeting. They brought 4 people out, a new person that works with them, plus the 2 people that reviewed the documents originally. And so I'm glad we were able to get through that. And that's the servery. This is a picture of the loading area, the back door that comes in where dry goods and food product roll into the building. The plywood you see on the wall is a finished product. That was a Mario idea in which, let's protect the walls because they always get damaged with something a little better. That's what you have there. Next, I think we're still in Area D. Okay, there's a guy hanging toilet accessories. We are at the point now where Area C and Area D, when the flooring trade runs from A and B down the corridor, he's rolling directly into the cafeteria and the area outside the auditorium. The overhead lighting that goes in that area is the next activity. It's kind of difficult to build because the lights all splay out on the same radius that you have outside the auditorium. So there's a lot of CAD work and a lot of layout work that's been going on for the last couple of days. Light fixtures are directly to follow. The photo you see is in that middle school cafeteria. Our architectural stair railings got completed in that photo. And moving ahead then to the gym. So if I speak to Area G, storefront windows up at the top of the gym are complete. Wood floor system installation is in progress. So now the wood floor has been installed and sanded, and second coat of poly is on. We now we work through the striping and the last coat of poly, followed by bleachers, followed by the last of the work. The air system in the room has been started. That's AHU3, and it's providing air to acclimate the space. That space is moving along comfortably. The photograph you see here is from the second floor corridor. On your left, outside the vision of the photograph, is the descending stair that we just looked at. And on your right are the windows that look down into the middle school cap. Not much more to see. I move over to Area E. My notes from the commentary is that the metal panel systems are complete, that painting is now complete through the 3rd floor. Acoustical ceiling grid is complete on the 1st floor. It's now complete on the 2nd floor, and they're actually moving down to the lower level in B and then going back up to the 3rd floor. Mechanical trade is happy that he has an open space to install his work. So he's running through installing the control valves that we had a little trouble with back in the A and B buildings. And a note here that says the porcelain and ceramic tile in the restrooms is complete. So photographs are the same, so that, yep, first floor shot a couple weeks back is the ceiling grid being installed. In area F, for those who get to drive up the Major Best Drive, you see that all of that black rain screen and visual impairments, so you don't see the backup through the panels, is now covered in panels. They're in process, they've done 90% on this elevation and now have worked around towards in a counterclockwise direction. They're working in the what will be the parking lot, main parking lot area. So ongoing work, metal panels are at 90%, cement panels are probably close to the same percentage. And ceiling grid ran through on the first floor as of the time of this photograph. Again, second floor is also complete now in area F. Moving to site work, let's see, so we finished everything and paved. Which was what we had to do in order to open the school, so. The photographs are just, again, kind of eye candy, work in progress to lay the process down. Next photo would be tearing up the driveway as we enter the site, replace the asphalt. We had new storm laterals to cross the road and new catch basins on the left and right as you look at that photograph. And ongoing concrete sidewalks. We are now poured out probably over 80%. I'd say we have roughly 2 weeks of sidewalk placements that will bring us out to the curves that are your circular parking area out in the middle of the front. On the sidewalk, more work. We put the timber rail in along the side of Major Bessie Drive and constructed the fencing along the retaining wall. All that is now complete, and of course, yes, we are, I think in the next photograph, paved. Yeah, paved. I got to experience parent pickup today, that was not bad, I think the timing and the queuing is pretty good right now. Okay, so then I asked Mike Zerio to get out in the field and take some more recent photographs. Mike, what do you got up there?
What we're looking at here is in area A on the first level. This is your career center. Beyond that, your channel glazing.
The career center is unbelievable with that glass. It's
Kind of cool.
it is.
It's a beautiful space, and therefore, as we speak, it's running through that corridor. And, get ready to finish up the last pieces.
Yep, keep heading on towards the auditorium.
But Dan I mentioned earlier, we finished the stairwell rubber. You see those little black nosings. This is our place with nosing. It's a beautiful product being installed in there. We're moving along.
Yep, stair 1 is finished. Stair 2 is in process of being installed. Then move to stair 3.
Next, we have our central office. You can see the carpet has been finished since the last time we spoke, and off to your right, we had our painting contractor doing some of the wall coverings. You see the right's a little harder to see with the lighting. There's very intricate designs in there, and the space really comes along very well.
We used to call it wallpaper, now it's wall covering. Installer did a beautiful job. He's saying it. I'm sorry?
I was actually there yesterday. It's quite beautiful.
Isn't it
It's
nice?
beautiful.
It looks really nice. It does.
He's not kidding. Like the wallpaper is exquisite.
I have to
It's
give
the-
Pam some credit for material choices in that space.
It's beautiful, and as Ed was saying too, that, what do you call that?
Career
Career
center.
center, it's just magnificent. Yeah, you're underselling it over there. Yeah.
Well, he's
That
young.
every day.
He's young.
Very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next, we were looking at area B, and those are the second and third floors. We went through, we wiped down all the lockers, cleaned up all the corridor flooring. And as Dan mentioned earlier, we punch listed those areas already, so the spaces are coming along. Dan was mentioning this before, what you're looking at is stage right, the right side of the auditorium, and those are your architectural sales. Our coordination and time, went into this with our Carpenter PDC and SLAM. The space is turning out beautiful.
Yep, you can see all the backup wall is now sheetrocked and has first or second coat of drywall compound. And these walls are generally about 1.5 feet. You see the ductwork, or there's in the middle of your screen, there's white elements, those are ductwork with insulation. We wrap the upper portions with board, just spider product, and we're concerned there'd be some sight line to it. And you can see the shapes of these sails. As I said, they're about 2 feet off the backup wall. There's 3 of them. They all curve at the top, they all curve at the bottom, and they all curve at you, or they're concave towards the seating pattern of the space. And yes, we had to coordinate that. We had more questions to make sure, line of sight areas that were what we thought they crawled on their hands and knees and they looked up underneath, they'd see. So we had Jeff Saperi, who was one of the primary architects in the design of the space, was on site on either Tuesday morning. And he came out to just provide a little bit more guidance. He adjusted the tilt on the center unit. Again, improving the finesse details of that framing. That's a very recent photo. That's work that's ongoing. As we speak, the ductwork has been dropped on the opposite side of the room on stage left. And we'll move from side A to side B. We brought the trades back in because the schedule that we had in contract and that we've been working towards didn't have a lot of detail, for what I had about 10 tasks or 10 activities. We did what's known as a pull plan, where every trade is asked, to make a schedule activity for something they have to do in the space. And we mapped it all out. And I have to say that it did move my completion from about the 3rd week of November to about the 2nd week of December. So again, if no Murphy pops out on us, we will have finished spaces in there, and we will be commissioning the AV and lighting control systems in mid-December. And we get to our drone pics. Well, I don't know if we had the plaster on the wall. I don't see white. Nope, but so it's a three coat plaster system. The final coat is white, so it makes for the projection screen stands out.
Yeah, and will that delay impact the opening at all?
No, as I say, we're commissioning space in middle December. You guys aren't taking the space until middle of January. So we're still okay. Yep. That looks like the last one, or is that the same one? Did anybody see the drone pics that we took on the opening day, in which we saw the cars and they were queuing so nicely? That worked out okay. That all for us, Mike?
The last one on the
Last one?
Dan, the last one has the queuing.
Oh, nice. So in maybe the other portion. All right, so yeah, in your hard copy, you can see lots of space for cars.
Yeah.
Other items completed, we've been working our driveway curb installation behind the building, wrapping up. Precast curb in the front, as I mentioned, the central parking area, the precast curb is complete. Now we're just pouring walk around it. Over the course of the month, we finished the pull structure that replaced the primary in your athletic field area and re-energized that for the start of school. Big activities for us on the MEP systems. I mentioned right here that yes, we have DOASs under control. We have chillers now started, and they're still working out a couple of details on the controls before they become fully automated. 3 of the air handlers in the center core of the building are started, and then fire pump actually went through startup yesterday. The boilers have gone through startup and are running. The domestic water pressure pump system went through startup and is left in the on position. Our next big activity is next week on Tuesday. We bring the state elevator inspection in to give us free use of the elevator number 2 in the stair 3 area. That'll be the primary use for distributing FF&E up through the building.
It'll still be run by a operator.
They will not, once they pass the state elevator,
Nice.
You have to pray.
they come to you, they get a
Did you
key.
get to go up?
And they get to take-
Yeah, you get to go up.
On the horizon, the last startup is for water heaters, which is 9:30. I have fire alarm systems already under, they're in testing mode, so they're moving along. I'd say they still have until, they probably have 2 more weeks before they're ready to energize or leave it in the on. And security systems have been programming for a couple of weeks, if not more. They were out a month and a half ago and now they're back. And the last of that programming, we're looking to have the ability to lock off the building and potentially use card readers by middle October. Those are big activities coming up and progress to date. Does anybody have any questions as to what's rolling around out there? Yeah, I can answer. Or attempt to answer. Okay, then I'll move ahead to cost and schedule from your packet. Lower level construction technology, as I described for you at our last meeting. We were in the last throes of trying to squeeze the last of the cost out of some of the trades. We have done that. The proposal materials have been released to put the construction technology space into place. But the formal change order is part of the packet for you guys to review and approve this evening. The next item is the locker room revisions. Again, a final cost on that is currently submitted and gone through our review and SLAM's review. SLAM has given their approval to execute the document. We at O&G side of the equation think there's about $5,000 more to squeeze out of that number. So part of my discussion this evening is to confirm, because we're at a point where we need to move forward with airspace design, that we are going to move forward with that change. You know, at an approved cost or not to exceed cost of 163. Our final cost will come in, you know, closer to 158. But that's a motion I need to have you guys introduce. I asked Ed to put a little something in the agenda to let you guys know. So as a refresher, in the Area H locker room section, the space plan was revised over a year ago. Put on the back burner as far as pricing and getting the final approvals in place, because we didn't need to get there until we got to a point where we needed to design MEP systems. We're at that point in time. We're starting up our MEP team, which is our BIM coordinator, Nick Kastler, and the designers for the electrician, for the hydronic piping, for the air side, for the fire protection. They all gather on a weekly teams meeting and they bring their drawings into a combined model and look for airspace clashes. And what they need to know is whether they're designing to what was bid or to what is now proposed at a change order cost. This is the part where you guys can ask questions and we
I
ask for a motion.
apologize, because I wasn't at the last meeting, but.
Yep.
So in the beginning, you talked about the 160, but a portion of that was for the locker room changes, not construction tech, right?
Yeah, that was a typo.
So
Wait, one
instead-
second.
That was wrong.
Is the
Yeah,
locker
we made,
room
you weren't
changes.
here, we had to change the
Oh, yeah, the minutes got
minutes
revised.
got revised.
Right,
Oh, did you catch that?
Yes.
Yeah.
so it's 160 for construction tech plus,
No,
No.
no,
no,
instead of construction tech, it's locker room.
right,
Right.
okay, I just want to make that.
Yeah.
Yeah, to make
clear
that
we're
very
not
clear
agreeing
for
on it,
everyone. So
because
your
it's-
your construction tech cost, you know, is completely aside. We had a series of 5 change events for us, or PCOs, to this committee, in which we changed the space plan, then we changed the dust collector system. That being aside from $160K is the cost to make the space changes in the locker room area. That's all by itself.
So what are we at for the construction tech changes?
I thought someone might ask that question. So the bottom line is we had a total of actually 6 change events. 340K if you add up all 6. First thing we did, we saved $18,000 when we looked at acoustical treatments in the space. Knowing that we had to put some back in. Then we had 106K related to the electrical side of that change. 241K, which is the mechanical and dust collection side of that change. That's the PCO that we'll get to in the PCO section of this meeting. We got a 4K credit for eliminating the spray booth, which is not part of the last plan. We have a 7K add to do what is considered rework, where we now install the second dust collection system. We have to poke holes in the side of the building, and we have to repair the masonry, repair the air vapor barrier system behind it. And then lastly, we're putting in an acoustical tile ceiling in one of the rooms where we took the acoustical treatment out, and that's in your engineering lab. That's primarily more architectural. That space being more a computer environment, the request was made to go to ACT or acoustical tile ceiling instead of exposed structure. So to answer Fiona's original question, the construction tech space change and dust collection system is a 340K thing. And that also includes additional work in the engineering lab, and converting what was a storage room into a printing room. And I'm trying to remember the adjacent room is now video production in lieu of just storage. So it's more than just construction tech. I'd say that, the 2 pieces of air handling equipment that went into making those 2 offices, the additional data drops related to the engineering lab, probably accounted for 30 to 40K of that 340K number. So going back to now on the table is the Area H locker room space change. In the original design, there's larger shared rooms separated by partitions. And in the current design, there are isolated rooms instead of one large locker room broken into 3 spaces by partition wall. Didn't actually include perpendicular walls with doors. Now there's perpendicular walls with doors. Separate heating and cooling space work that needed to go to facilitate that space change, lighting changes for that space change, sprinkler systems changes. There's a litany, and then the additional part is the masonry partitions that actually go in there. So I wanted to mention one more thing. So I'm at a cost on the table here of 163K. We're not asking for approval of that number. I'm only asking that you know that you're going to move forward with the change. We have about 5K that we're going to squeeze out of that last number in order to get to the final number. And then I was going to mention that Ed had an idea in which is a value engineering idea where we eliminate more CMU walls, which cost more to build, and instead introduce a metal stud wall with a impact resistance fiberglass panel. So many of these walls are protected by lockers that you may not realize that, it's a good idea. You're just not using CMU when you're using metal stud walls and fiberglass behind what are lockers for a good portion of the wall. So we're going to look to those opportunities to drive down costs. But the motion I'm looking for, or the action from this group, is to say that I'm designing to either the original space design or the new design, based on knowing that the worst case scenario is 163K. I paraphrase that to where you guys understood me. Oh, block.
CMU.
Yeah, CMU is block walls. Block 8 by 8 by
Concrete.
concrete. Right. And so almost all of the walls in that space are currently block walls. And we as a company, we value engineer quite a bit of CMU out of a project if the project budget doesn't support it. We all know that CMU walls last forever. They're a good durable product. But they cost more. So you do have opportunities to save some dough in that space. I can't give you an order of magnitude until I get more information, which walls will change. And then Ed has already reached out and we've gotten some preliminary costs on the fiberglass product. It has been used in industrial applications. It's not a cheap product.
What's the life expectancy of fiberglass versus the steel?
Yeah, Ed's used this stuff in the past.
Yeah, I've used it many times in
So
school.
the good news is
construction.
you could take it off
So you could take it off.
and
and back.
replace it.
Yeah.
But if we focus on areas behind lockers and stuff
Yeah.
like that, it'll last forever.
Forever.
But it's a hard decision because we know block is, yeah,
Yeah.
block is block, right? It'd be insulated.
Yeah, we can
Would
get
be
the same
insulated.
STC out of our wall assemblies made out of. cold
We just gotta be careful where you put it
Sound
because
transmission coefficient.
CMU, SDC. There's a lot of initials out there.
Yeah.
ESPN.
What was the cost for this change again? I don't
Once-
remember ever really understanding why this change had to be made.
So the cost part is 163 today. And I'm gonna try to squeeze 5K out.
The change, I mean.
No, she wants to know why it went from one big room to multiple rooms.
I'll defer to others.
There was a request. Yeah, it was a request, I don't know why, it was a long discussion.
Well, it was a request to go to individual rooms.
Right,
The question is, why was it one big room to start with? That I don't have that answer. That I don't have that answer.
Who made the request for it?
I believe it was myself and the athletic director. We may or may not know.
Or they're not happy?
Well, listen, I've lived in those locker rooms. You can't put a 19-year-old football player next to a 14-year-old cross-country kid. It's not a good idea. No. So we definitely need individual rooms. Why it wasn't designed that way to start with, I don't have that answer.
Design was reviewed.
I'll make a motion to design the locker room space to the smaller room design size
At a max of 163.
at a max of 163.
I'll second that.
Well, how does the fiberglass hold up if it takes a direct shot from equipment, basketball or a helmet or something? If
Certainly
somebody
not as
throws
good as
some-
block, but it is used in factories and the like.
All right. No, I mean,
In
if it-
schools too.
if it's
I
gonna-
put it in
It's
a
a
number of
right?
schools.
okay,
It's a
Yeah,
helmet
just-
at full-
we're looking
full
at
velocity.
If we don't need the block behind
Somebody in it.
the lockers, I mean, we're gonna save money.
Yeah, that
Right.
makes, that to me, that makes.
yeah, I assume it's difficult to hit, but if somebody throws a helmet or something,
A lot of work.
exactly, well, yeah, that could happen.
So that's what we're
I think
looking
that
at
we'll
now.
Review that with product information.
Yeah. To save 10K,
at a later
that's
date.
crazy.
Mhm.
50K.
And look for some savings.
Three, if I remember correctly,
So it's
going from one big one
just.
to three, no, both sides, three on each side. Yeah.
You can have. Technically 3 teams.
Yes, and you will. Yeah.
There's a motion on the floor to approve
Not to exceed number.
I guess I do have one question, sorry. If the rooms, say the football team. Is there a room a lot bigger than, say? last country
I
or-
believe we left one room bigger.
One room is larger than
Yeah.
the other two.
It's more kids on the football.
Oh, there's
Yeah,
big
equipment.
numbers,
Yeah.
a lot of equipment, a lot of coaches, a lot of. That's.
We get
that's a
rowdy.
big-
So we have motion to approve at a max of 163,000 for the area H MEP coordination by Donna and Fiona. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
What we're gonna build.
That's our money.
Come on.
Okay, so the last piece of information is again, just to give you the project summary. And that was the individual sheet that Ed had passed out
Today.
today. So from the document, you see the schedule is at the top of the page. Where we are relative to where we established the dates on the GMP. We're doing well, with the exception of the first areas, which I asterisk as those dates are related to the delayed areas down in the construction technology.
Yep.
But other than that, we're riding well. Area H, if I draw your attention to the 9/22 date, that's what the schedule is pushing out, you know, as I'm putting information in. That's the date that I have to drive backwards. So Area H for us is the most compressed portion of the scope. When we get to school, we're getting it early, which we really appreciate. We are gonna be in a high rate of load. We've been working 6 days for 2 years, but we're gonna continue to do so. And ultimately that day will come back to what we know has to happen, which is putting the children back into the school for September of 2025. I'll reiterate just for record here that the gym is likely not going to be ready to be playable for the first 3 weeks of the school year. That's what the schedule is kicking back to me now. How well we do in the gym is really going to be a function of how much work is involved in the abatement and structural demolition of the space. So anything we can improve in that duration is what's going to bring us back. Just overall percentages continue to grow. As a frame of reference, the billing for the month, we are at 76% billed, which falls properly in the percent complete as driven by schedule activities. So again, I honestly feel very personally comfortable after walking the space that we are at a point where we could be ready for furniture in 2 minutes. I didn't have my punch list complete. I'd still be in there doing balancing in the air systems and water systems, but I've been in that situation many times. The fact that we're not moving furniture in and I have another month of grace here, you have a great flow of the project and schedule from us is confident. On a cost level, the bottom part of this page, the bottom line, current budget, you see pretty small change month to month from 162,580 to 162,680. Overall project costs reflect something similar, except there's more costs in the potential category. That means we're identifying things that will add to the total cost of the project. And then the bottom line on the bottom is what is in the at-risk contingency. We are always trying to be conservative in the numbers that we provide. So Mike, assisted again by myself, is that we are putting in potential costs larger than they might be, but we want to always worry about that number. So you see a significant hit about the month where, you know, we put costs in there projecting toilet costs till finish up a job, you know. We don't think we'll see those numbers come to fruition, but that's what's still in the current contingency. If we continue to burn, as we call it, we continue to spend money at a rate of $100,000 a month, we'd be out in 10 months. We don't suspect we're gonna do that, but I did load it up from month to month this time, again, just to be conservative and let you know where we are.
This thing, the cost was been, more, so they showed it for a month.
For what?
The toilet cost. That, for the next 6 to 8, 10 months.
Yeah, we, now this number,
Describe it for a month. It's a month. No.
oh, the change that you see is 9,000 per month. And so we're now ratcheting back, so what we carried in the trade contract for toilet allowances, it's an important item because it's a cost item. We carried $80,000, which is not unusual for the size of the project and the number of personnel and the duration, right? The issue we had is early on in the project, the trades were not behaving properly. In the sense that we had to create a trade, a porta potty per trade. And then the cost escalated, we got to the end of what was in our trade contract allowance. And now everything that goes against it comes out of our at-risk contingency.
Good thing they don't work in Mission Island.
We're ratcheting. We also, cleanliness is close to everybody. It's important to create that environment, and you don't wanna, I personally would never put the trades through. We're working with union trades here, they have levels of acceptance that we clean the porta potties twice a week. We dedicated 27 porta potties to 120 men, women. You're only required to provide 1 per 10 and clean them weekly. We are ratcheting back at this point because the weather is better. They don't need to be cleaned as often. And we now have better trade compliance to keeping a cleaner environment.
You're saying you carried, with the contingency, you said you carried numbers high forward. Does that include the toilets?
Yes. And that, yeah, that's about $40,000 of that number.
It's,
Right down the toilet.
yeah.
Okay,
That's all I have for you. I appreciate the motion. We are again looking ahead to Area H, that portion of the building. Fortunately, I've been through it a couple of times. I know what it's like to be even in a two-shift environment where you have to turn over space. Everything will be prefabricated. We had meetings this past week with the aluminum and storefront trade to confirm which pieces of glass could be released at this point, where we're gonna have makeup pieces, so that everything we need is gonna be on the ground when we get there in March.
So on the field observation reports, the only thing that I'm asked about is it mentions ponding and other. You know, trouble that we got things like that.
Oh, yeah. So, well, it was not troubled, it was an agreed, Subtown has a lot of resource that gets put out to do summer roofs. And it was agreed that around 9:15, they would come back. They remobilized to site on Wednesday. And they were listening.
They're taking care of all, there's a
Winter's
couple issues.
couple
Yeah.
of issues, plus some of the, it was, what do you call it, dirt, it was brown.
Rust. There's rust on the roof.
The rust on the roofs, yeah, cleaning that off.
Yep, there's 3 items in John Jenny's report of ponding. There's a couple more that we're aware of. There's a couple items under the membrane. And then we have, with the construction of the building having to happen after the roofing was down, we did carry an allowance for membrane replacement. And so that's part of, they don't get paid to fix their ponding problems, but they get paid to replace those pieces of membrane out of the trade contract allowance, so it doesn't impact to the overall construction budget. But we do have significant amount of work.
You have John Jennings' report. He's not here. He's on vacation this week, so, and he's been at all the meetings except
Yep.
Wednesday, but, he does a great job. ONG respects him, and then what he says is really good. Next one, number C, could I have a motion to, pay $3,252,001.64. That's the, all of the trades for this month. As you know, this month it's going down. Last month it was, approximately 4.2 million. Going down to 3.2. Have a motion, Pat? Have a second? Robin? Any discussion?
Is there a break?
By trade.
Yeah, it was on, I don't make copies anymore. I don't have time. Yeah, you have it on the thing.
This one here,
Yeah.
certificate of payment application 28.
Yeah. Sorry, but- Yeah, we.
Yeah,
Right there.
that breaks it down by trade.
I think, yeah, that. Motion second, or you have a question? All in favor? Aye.
Can I ask some change order questions now? Or?
Yeah, we're coming up on that.
Yeah.
We're right there.
right here now.
Coming up in the next.
Right. Okay, the first one, Dan, you wanna go over them all?
So they are listed in order on in your agenda. The first item is a water service bypass cost. Per Aquarian, what we had to add to the water service delivery to the building is you always have bypasses, but in Aquarian's requirements, they require a second, a backflow device on the bypass. What happens is if the meter goes bad and they need to route water to the building, they still wanted the backflow device in that condition. Next item is PCO 30901. In the science classrooms through the project specifications, there was the assignment of the faucets that go with the science epoxy sinks. Those faucets were only cold water, and you know, looking at the space, the science casebook contractor was claiming that he only owed the one, because that's how the spec was written. But in review with SLAM, the way they designed the space was to have two. And we preferred, I should say but the preference was to have the same quality faucet at the student work tables and perimeter sinks as was elsewhere in the project. So they went to add 36 plumbing product faucets. And then we argued and got the best trade cost we could get back from the science casework contractor. So a net change to the project is the $2,966. Next item is a contingency cost. We kind of lumped a few things together here. We couple of small items related to roof damage, some seismic clips that were, you know, could have pushed towards cost. Seismic clips were not in a location where they could be. They were connecting two portions of the buildings that had to move independently. The biggest cost in this change is the cost to reapply air vapor barrier, and that's just a function of construction in that we spray the building tight when we build the building. And then by the time the trades get to cover that product, we identified some areas that were failing, that were cracking. So that's about 6,000 of that cost. And then another myriad of small costs applied to the at-risk areas. The next is the detention system road plates. So at area A, we have a large detainage system. You remember we had to move around the detention systems because of some ledge that we encountered. And in doing so, we put one that was right in front of the main entry to the high school. And with all of the lift work that had to occur, the potential for damage there was very high. So we spent some dollars to put road plates down to prevent damage. Yep.
It's a sequence.
It was a sequence, yep. We couldn't wait to put the detention in until after the facade was finished. And we didn't want to put your facade, your detention at risk. So the next one is a cost that's an increase to the GMP, and that's for an unforeseen. When the road was being constructed that goes around the gym by the concession stand, the retaining wall that was going to get built, they encountered an existing pipe. That existing pipe was put in when they built the original school. It was not active. It was when they put the concession stand addition onto the gym, they cut that pipe, but that pipe was still connected to the storm system that collects the water through the athletic fields and was introducing water into our project. So we had to find that out. And then we had to make the corrective work to cap that system off. Next item is a temporary toilet cost. That was probably our most expensive toilet cost per month. Painful, but necessary. In one of the rooms, there was no soffit shown to support what's known as a radiant panel, looking at PCO 330. So to construct a drywall soffit to support a radiant panel there, $2,479. The next item is PCO 331, probably the largest cost item, second to largest. So the background here is that the tiles the little bumpy tiles, we call them tactile strips, that let people know they're walking out into the street. Those are plastic. Those are shown to go into bituminous walks. The installers, the manufacturers won't let you set those in asphalt. So we had a choice to put asphalt around them or put a concrete pad and set them in after we paid. The value added is to take that concrete and extend it not just underneath the tactile pad, but through the ramps and through, in some cases, an extended portion of concrete. Essentially adding a value to the project. You have some bituminous sidewalks, right? We have in our project a lot of concrete sidewalk, but as you can see, as you walk along Major Best Drive, as you come in by the new skate park, that's all bituminous.
How many ramps?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Potentially 7 off the top of my head, and they're up to 30 feet of linear sidewalk. All the sidewalk is unit price for us. But I wanted to convey that it's really value added because bituminous it's okay, but concrete's better. And I think it was, it was the right choice. That was a decision that had to be made to pave Major Best Drive. Student table, work table, that's a chargeback. The tables didn't show up with pre-wire as required by documents, so the electrician did it for the science casework guy and got back charged for the same. In discussion with Move Management over the last 6 months or so with Mike, he identified the need for some Connex boxes to store product. Because once he has the new middle school, but not the complete high school, he doesn't have anywhere to store some stuff. So we've rented them now for a year term. If we can peel that back because we don't need them past August or September. But as it mentions here, this is October to October, and we're bringing them in next week. So we'll start a little bit earlier than this.
So you're not locked into a year on that, you just said, right?
That's correct. And we actually spoke to Dean made me aware that he was buying a box. And I was thinking about buying your box, but that's not the right choice here.
Okay.
You'll end up having to get rid of the box. The next change is the bank room, which I really didn't think we were gonna build, but now we're gonna build. So we're literally calling it a remodel because the space is finished. This is the change to add the ATM space within the central core of your building.
Can I go back? Sorry. About buying the box?
Yeah, you want to reconsider buying the box?
You can buy the box. We're not buying a box.
Box is $4,900.
Yeah, we're not buying it.
You
because
spend
it's gonna-
62.
It's gonna.
I know.
You spend
You'll have to get
62.
rid of the
Yeah,
Box
you're
to
gonna
buy
have
it's
to get rid of the
49.
box. It's gonna.
Huh?
Can you use the box when you're
What do you mean you buy?
No, what he's saying is if we're renting it for 60.
We're renting for 62, you can buy it for 49.
Yes, we're wasting the money on rent.
You are.
Oh,
If
definitely.
you need one, I'll buy it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Decision.
Do we still need to rent though for the move? Like, what's
No.
the purpose of your box?
My
Well,
personal
no,
box
this has to be in
would be after
Dean just
the,
happened to mention to me a couple of days ago that he has to buy a box for the middle school, something unrelated to our project. And he mentioned that the cost of that new box, and then it went to my head that, hey, we're paying more for a rented unit.
Right.
So, but then we actually spoke to it today and said, do you want to make the change? And the problem is if you own the box, someday it's gonna sit there and get rusty again on you. And you gotta get rid of the box. So if we rent it and just incur the cost into the project, it just goes away and you don't have.
I just want to remind everybody before we built the turf field
Yeah.
of the 3 rusty boxes that were at the entrance gate.
Oh, yeah,
Well, we attempt to maintain the box.
Yeah.
That's
but we have no storage.
Well, we definitely need the 2 boxes
Yeah.
for Mike McKenna's stuff and other stuff.
Is that,
And I certainly understand the whole economics of it, but
I'll figure it out.
Okay.
It's not cheap.
was that the cost to rent 2 boxes?
These are,
Yeah.
the cost here is to rent 2 20-footers. And the cost that Dean mentioned is to purchase 140 footer. So you may pay more for 220s. You will. Or you could tell Mike that he's got to use 140, which is just harder to get to the stuff in the back. It's a long way to get to the back. So we can exclude this PCO from tonight's motion. But we do need to move quickly because Mike needs to. let us know.
Well, I don't want.
We release.
I don't want to hold things up.
Off we go on with it. You did?
Yeah, that's fine.
So what are you proposing? Rent these for
Yeah.
McKenna and then deal with Dean's thing
Yeah.
outside of the building project?
Because you can always stop it after.
I can, but you're gonna lose the $600 to get them delivered. Okay, so we'll proceed with this, but I can pull it back at any point. It is a month-to-month rental. I just didn't want to have to revisit it. Okay, moving ahead. So the bank room, everybody understands the bank room.
Which is reimbursed.
Correct.
The bank is actually paying for that.
That money is set aside.
They agreed to do it.
For 51,000, I got the check, we deposited,
Yeah, that's,
51,000 is being used with Dean and myself. To get the equipment that's needed in the construction tech and the wood shop.
No, it's an owner request. Okay.
We got the check. Okay, we deposited in an account only for the high school construction. Not in this, you can't put it in the building account, it's a separate account.
Yeah.
Okay, and Dean and I are working on a list of equipment for the construction shop and the auto shop.
So this is part of the whole.
It's a separate thing. They could not give us, that check could not go into
yeah,
our
the
fund
bank's paying for
for all the equipment.
the rolling gate
Yeah.
and the work that needs to be done to install. Cut the hole for the ATM and
It's a paper.
build a wall for the teller and the door.
Pay 100% of the remodeling costs. The monies are being funneled into the project in a way that allows the project to purchase loose items that now don't have to come up out of the
Actually,
budget.
you're paying for this, which releases other money to pay for other things.
Correct.
That's a better way of,
That is a better way.
Yeah.
saying it.
They're not gonna want to think that they're paying for construction equipment.
Right, right.
Oh, they're paying for the bank, but it frees up money,
It frees up money.
the same
Yeah.
amount,
I appreciate that. That's the right way to frame it.
clever.
The next is a large cost for getting the elevator operators. On this particular project,
That's the job I want.
the PLA Kone elevator crew would not leave elevators where I needed them, which has been my method in the past. So what this describes is when you build the elevator, after the elevator gets constructed, they have the trades, the MEP trades have to go back into the shaft to do electrical work and to tie in components that are in the shaft. When that happens, normally the elevator would be left on the second floor so that somebody could walk into the third floor and stand on the top and do their work. But that's kind of a gift to Dan that I've had for most of the projects in my life. This project, it stopped, and it happened to stop on project with, you have 9 stops, 9 elevator fronts. And so the rate at which somebody literally just sits in a chair outside that elevator, he would come, he would move it, he would open the door, and he would sit in a chair for 8 hours at $185 an hour.
Oh.
And that's what it is. That's what they do. When they have
Perfect
too many
retirement.
men available.
If you wore white gloves, it was 195.
That's part of the CM contingency cost. That's an at-risk cost. I assigned 80 hours of operator time. And I think we ended up, Mike knows we're at probably. What's it say? You remember?
We paid for like 95 in that PCO.
So they doubled the number of man hours and we still have 2 elevators to go. So we put in a potential cost to know that we earmarked that money. In the In the auditorium, again, the way we bought the job, the trades were supposed to be able to stand on these elevated platforms and construct the sail wall tops. But as you can see from the construction and the sequencing of the work, we had to get the platform completely out of the way. So this is about a 50% negotiated cost to the trade, at which we came to an agreement as to how much they would be able to build a project. Again, coming out of CM contingency because it's not an add to the project. We're just building what's in the documents.
Many lists.
This was one lift, and this was, so the monthly rate on this was, I think, around $8,000. And we needed two. We kept the crawler lift, I paid for half, and then they provided lifts and platforms for all the other trades. It was part of the deal. Let's see, so we had a bunch of little miscellaneous costs, again, a PCO 337 represents our cost to the contingency for small items. In preparation of the gym floor, we had to pour back some cores in the slabs where space design changed, but we took it to the contingency. General cleanup items, we as builders, we don't assign cleaning inside wall cavities and things, but we do it, you know, and in labor allowances that we keep with the trade are expended at this point, so this is a tally of those costs. Again, to the CM contingency. More temporary walls, walling off the gymnasium for space condition issues, isolating spaces, doors is again a CM contingency cost. At the proscenium, the millwork contractor convinced me essentially that instead of drywall with in-wall blocking, you know what, there was no in-wall blocking shown. I could have pushed this in the other direction, but I didn't. So we didn't have, in order to put the wood paneling on the face of the proscenium, we need to attach cleats to the wall. And in order to do so, we had to add wood blocking in the stub bays. And the trade made me aware that I didn't have any wood blocking in the stub bays in the contract documents. I didn't think of adding it when I was bidding out and buying out the job. And the better solution was to eliminate the drywall and cover the wall with plywood. That's just a lower cost than to add all this new wall blocking and really a better way to build. So you now have a plywood substrate or plywood wall materials behind the proscenium millwork. And I took that to the CM contingency. It cost $5,000. A little bit of premium and start a premium with all the trades. We get them next summer. But again, CM contingency costs were just under 5,000. PCO 342 was an add to the GMP or an increase to the owner's cost. And that relates to when we tore apart and built the retaining wall again. It's between new construction and the turf field. The control conduits were not where they thought they were, and they were within the scope of work, so we had to take them out and then repair the work. And we have window film at chillers for those who walk the building and look through the stair 3 glass. The decision was made to put opaque film on that glazing.
How many floors did that happen?
It happens on 2 and 3. Does it happen on 4? Yeah, just 2 and 3. Yep, Mike gets an attaboy. He did some diligence on that change to bring it down.
Attaboy.
Attaboy. Let's see, so lastly, we have PCO 325R1. That represents the final negotiated cost for the construction tech space. HVAC systems, including the dust collector, comprise $224,000 of that cost. We had not included the extra fire alarm devices and things in our previous submissions. That's the $6,500 cost. And we did not include the foundations for what is the additional dust collection units. So last effort was made to squeeze the HVAC contractor down. And that is the best and final from him.
Got the note on there about the revised existing equipment, you're okay with that, future, we can see out.
Good news on that. Yes, so actually, so we had a scope of work, we knew what pieces of equipment we were moving from the existing space into the new space. And based on the new plan, there was a couple of less pieces of equipment, and there was a CNC machine to be set. So I was concerned that we were gonna see a positive number. That final cost for now the CNC machine, which is essentially bought part of the FF&E. They were asking of us to take it off the truck and set it in place. In follow-up with Ed, the decision was made to have the company that's delivering the CNC bring it into the building and set it up.
Mario, can you-
And I said, okay, I'll go with that. So you ended up with a net negative number on the equipment move, I don't remember. $400. Oh, so you put it in the $4,000 spray booth credit, so not in this group is another $4,000 credit that I did put into the
We had some,
340K total. Otherwise it would be 344.
that's it, lots of more to do. That's why.
No, the things that we are moving are fairly light. You know, you're buying big new equipment like your table saw. Is pretty big. We're moving drill presses and band saws. Other small pieces. Yep.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve all of the PCOs that were here, plus the 325R1, which is the construction tech. Okay, Pat and Gary. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next, you know what I realized is I did not interject into my description of the project, the piece of paper that I passed out. Is it appropriate that I finish my portion of thought here? Yeah. Okay, and I'll have Mike put it up on the screen. So Dean and I have been talking for some time. He's been looking for a spot to put wood product for the construction tech classroom. And so initially, you know, we looked at a couple of areas, we tried to fit it over by the pre-K parking lot, but the grade is just too steep over there, and then it dawned on us that we could put it in the location shown. Like maybe that should be even a little bit bigger so they can get a feeling for where they are. You want to give them an idea where the construction tech roll-up door is? Okay, so that's the overhead door that brings product into the construction tech space. To the right of that is a gas meter, and to the right of that in green is where the second dust collector will reside. And so we have enough space between those pieces of equipment and the curb to actually locate a 12-foot wide, call it a carefree bed building or a solar farm shed. So that looks like the best spot for it, but you know, it's cost, and we're sensitive to cost. So when we saw that the sugar shack was not something that the fire marshal was going to accept being part of your project, below that sugar shack was what's known as cobblestone or stone mulch. So we've negotiated a deal with the site contractor to provide a pad in that location for a future building. And so the language you see on the screen says, please advise if they're code related. It's because I sent this to SLAM, and Kemp has done some homework to say that, you know, unless the fire marshal jumps up and down between now and when Dean actually puts a building there, paraphrasing if I can, we don't see a problem. There are clearances required for wood frame structures that we meet. So what SLAM wants to make sure of is that everybody knows on this committee and wants to say it's okay for Dean someday to build a building or set a carefree storage building in that location. And I'd like that confirmation before we go ahead and do the work at no cost.
That's a real question for you. This is what you wanted to put a storage unit at one time, in the interim or no? Not when you did the storage unit in the trailer?
This is where, yeah, not an interim, I mean, looking at the wood shop and storage and
Correct.
for these guys, so I wouldn't be. It'd be permanent,
Yeah,
yeah, it'd be permanent.
I mean,
So, but this is what you're offering, what we're getting here is just instead of grass in that area, is gonna be stone. And it's gonna be a base of stone that if we wanna put something floating on there, if we wanna get more in detail and put footings in, that's a whole nother story. If this would just be something to, you know. Float a building or
Exactly.
a very nice looking Connex box or something.
are you gonna run it by the fire marshal before they do their work?
Well, I would think that'd be.
Oh, you did
That's
already.
what Kemp did.
Oh, you actually spoke to him?
I just
Okay.
copied them on the, you know.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But Dean, you say you need this for wood storage in addition to the wood storage space in the building? Yeah, yes, I do. I believe there's gonna be more, not just wood storage, but just equipment, the stuff that we're bringing over, some of the stuff that we have. That's in that shop. That we're bringing over.
So maybe we talked about the concern about storing all that wood inside of the building.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you talked about bringing it outside and storing it in Connex box.
Yeah, I didn't twofold. I didn't see that room where we had designed for storage. Being robust enough, especially with the equipment that's in there. And the other thing too would have been, this is kind of a joint storage area, would also be used for some maintenance stuff in there also, was my vision. Because we don't, again, we're not quite sure the amount of storage we're getting depending on certain things.
Well, you're right, we did put the CNC machine in there, which took a little bit of that space away.
Right. So that's all.
So this is a future building then?
Yeah.
Or just doing the pad?
Just give us
And
some.
no cost.
And you're gonna make it
So.
look lovely if you buy one, or when you buy one.
Well, you know,
Dan, be surprised.
we'll take all the input.
They might, yeah, the ONG story.
Great check, Dan, thank you.
I mean,
Thank you, Dan.
you know, we don't want a Connex box there next to
No,
the
there's no
playground.
Connex box going
No.
there.
Gotta be
You
nice.
should go to that new shed place in Torrington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could advertise.
Danny?
it.
What I said, what? No, sorry, didn't bring my checkbook. Sorry.
All right, oh, you need a motion for that? Hold on,
Wait, can we,
Gary
we just-
seconded.
how,
We need a first
is
and
it,
second.
Hold on, hold on.
okay,
all right, I'll second.
Fiona, and then Donna.
Isn't it on the other side? I don't, how would it be visible from the playground? Is it on the other side of the
It's next
building?
No, can
If
you
you go
back
back to the
to?
site plan.
Okay, so there's your playground.
Oh, I was kind of looking more at where the, yeah, all right.
You could.
Well, the property's gonna have it, you say it can be visible.
No,
It's because when you're hauling stuff.
oh, you gotta get in and out of it. Sure. I mean, maybe you put a PVC stockade fence between
Correct.
the playground and the box.
Not a lot of room.
No. Maybe we don't.
Yeah, a fence doesn't take up much room.
Figure it out later.
Okay.
Move forward with,
Yeah.
They seconded already.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Next item, we did receive another check on time, it's unbelievable, 30 days. $1,000, $800, so, just so you know, after this meeting, I bring I do 2 months at a time. I bring the bills to City Hall, and hopefully we'll have them as we always do on the next Friday. Just give you all the update, up to. You have all of the payments from each contractor. Not including this one that we just do. That's that. Then we have some bills to pay. The first one is B&L Company. $12,416.25. Can I have approval of that? And Pat? And Doug? Thank you, Doug. All in favor? Aye. Okay, you have two invoices, one that was in the packet and one I gave you today. That's our library, which is being stored in Massachusetts until December, when they will bring back all the books from the high school. So it's $360. Have a motion to approve $360. Doug and
Robin,
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next one is in innovative engineering. They sent me an extra bill updating, so I have two bills for them totaling $3,852.64. Have a motion to approve that bill. Gary and Cap. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next one is Slam bill for $41,225. Have a motion to approve that one. Gary. Second, Pat. Discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Okay, we're at comments for the good of the order. Sorry.
did you get the IES? I'm sorry to go back.
I'm sorry.
Did you incorporate the two?
Two, yeah,
IES?
yes.
Anna?
Jeff, anything?
Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
When will we talk about the stuff that needs to be moved, like what's coming from one building to the other?
Yeah.
Stuff that's not being moved, I mean. Stuff that's coming out of the buildings, like, the stuff for the high school that maybe the public is interested in, how is all that, going to pan out?
You mean what's going to be left over?
What's left over and or what we are moving, like there was a discussion at one point, in another
Yeah,
meeting.
we've had, starting November 13th of 2023, we've had 3 meetings with ONG and the administration. And it's listed with Dean and everything of what's being moved, what's the Board of Ed requirements are.
Yeah, who's moving what?
Right, so we've done this starting in November of 2023.
And then as far as the leftover stuff,
That's not us.
these guys are
That's the Board of
developing
Ed.
an idea.
Yeah.
Of, call it a flea market, tax sale type of thing, still, it's a work in progress.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Doug,
I'm set.
Michelle,
I got nothing.
thank you.
I'm good. Thank you, everybody.
I'm good, thank you.
When's that next tour? I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
We'll have to get a date. Well, Mary and I took a date and we'll send it to everybody.
Wait till next week when you can use the elevator.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Yeah. Gary, Gary, anything? No, Pat? Mike? Anything?
Just a comment, I walked the building before the meeting today, it's looking fantastic, I hope everybody's as excited as I am about this design of the building, it's really gonna be a fantastic building.
Yeah, radius is and all.
yep,
Yeah.
Curvy corners. Yep, nothing new to add.
you and I covered some of this in an informal setting, but, boy, I wish I could read that. The door gaskets we talked about yesterday, right?
So what Mario's referring to is we've installed the contract document door gaskets. All of your classrooms are separated from your corridor with a sound rated door. So a sound rated door has what's known as perimeter frame gasketing, as well as what's known as a drop shoe. So that when the door closes, that becomes an airtight seal and it gives you the STC between the corridor and the classroom. The manufacturer's product on the manufacturer's door, so you have a door that's coming from one source and hardware that's coming from another source. The 2 layers of gasket that stick on the frame make it too hard to pull the door open. They're just too snug. So we're investigating options to try to make them less snug. What Mario witnessed in the field is where some of them have been, actually, they come off the frame
Yeah, they stick to the door.
because there's just too much friction there.
And keeping with that, Danny, too, where there's carpeting, there seems to be a little, a drag.
Over the door,
Yeah,
over the carpet.
Yeah.
Noted that.
yeah. And now I can read my writing. We talked about this yesterday too, the ring lights over that walkway that overlook the gym.
Yeah, that's a small issue. The elevation of the lights in the corridor as you approach the middle school specialty stair. Mario witnessed it. I hadn't seen it yet. He's concerned that the lights are too low, that the kids will touch them.
Yeah.
And so, they are easily raised because we have raised them in other locations.
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning. What lighting was that?
The ring lights that
The
are in the
roof lighting
calf,
in the calf.
they're
Thank you.
also
I
in
was
that
gonna ask that
walkway
same
that
question.
goes down to that staircase. I could reach it.
All right.
Is that the Longa Bucco staircase?
You guys are still looking at stepping down that retaining wall near the athletic fields?
Fortunately, you will see a cost. The
Yay.
design documents held the wall at the transformer. The existing transformer on the way to the turf field. The retaining wall that we constructed is taller than the natural grade and creates a ponding condition at the transformer. The obvious solution was to step the wall down a little bit, so yes, we are going to get a price and present it for taking some of that wall back down. Taking the wall parts is relatively cheap, but unfortunately, we've already put foundations in for the fence. And now the fence will be lowered. I won't have the embedment in the earth as the grade will come down.
Okay.
Can you lower the other wall?
I'm sorry.
Can you lower the other wall? That's the bigger wall.
Ooh, there's opportunity to save money on the athletic fields.
Yeah.
By lowering retaining walls.
Yeah.
It's good, they, I do it all the time.
If my numbers are right, Daly is 83.9% paid,
Yep,
which is ahead of the project.
yep.
Is that due to stored?
No,
How like
some of it's, but no, their heaviest equipment or their, we have lots of meetings with MJ Daily. And so I can tell you some specifics about it. Most of their contract cost is in equipment. So all of your air handling equipment that's already on the building, all of the mechanical equipment that's installed
Yeah.
in the building and mechanical and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Just FYI, they're at 52, they had 52,000 man hours of labor to construct. And they are already at 50,000 man hours.
Mhm.
They are gonna be at 65,000 man hours.
I was gonna say they've wasted at least 10.
They
well-
will not make money on this job.
I don't need to tell you, we're hypersensitive about staying in a good position with them.
Yes, no, we carved them. I will never be behind.
Yeah. And last, why did that guy put up the central office sign before they painted the wall?
He made a mistake. Fernando, whom Mario knows is the general trades, general foreman for the project. He came in,
Good
hat in
blazing.
hand,
Yeah,
saying,
nice
I
guy,
didn't catch
nice
these
guy."
guys.
Yeah.
There was a small color change on the wall that's outside the Board of Ed between deep red and not as deep red. And he put the letters on before he put his final coat on. So he's cutting around all those letters.
Yeah, is that what he's gonna do?
Yeah,
Holy mackerel.
I know.
Jeez. Oh my God.
You
All right.
finished there?
No. In fact,
I'm
I
gonna
wanna
put
talk
this-
about the turf field. I don't remember if it was last meeting or the meeting before that. I erroneously stated we didn't need a referendum. We do. We do. Myself, Ed and Michelle thought we heard one thing. By Mike.
Bye, Mike.
Right. The state recommendation was that we didn't need it, but the city feels otherwise, and that's who's calling the shots. So that's that. We are currently doing test borings and test pits out there. Not only for the purpose of the fields, but for the purpose of demolition a little bit. Try to get a handle on what we're looking at, soil, rock, or whatever the case may be.
Look for rock.
Yeah. We'll get those reports next couple weeks or so. So that's fine. The $6 million is gonna go as far as the $6 million takes us. Did you get any answers on lights
Not
and
yet.
outbuildings?
I messaged her today. I didn't get an answer yet.
Okay, so. If if we run into rock, if we run into bad soil, if we have to do 2 turf fields, we'll do turf. Now, obviously, this is assuming the referendum passes. If we have to do 2 turf fields, we'll do 2. We'll do two grass fields, 2 turf fields, whatever the case may be. So, I just wanted to make you all aware of that. We got the referendum on election day. I would encourage you guys to vote your conscience. I'm very confident and comfortable that this is the right thing to do. It'll last and it'll be playable quicker and for a longer period of time. We spoke to the grass guy today and Liberty.
Grass guy.
Yeah,
Yes, he's
The real-
the athletic field
Grass guy.
installation contract.
right. He does both. Yeah, he does seeded, he does sod, and he does turf. He's doing much more turf, of course, than anything. I think 22 projects this year they have, field turf and some of them with Liberty. And, he told us about the difficulty of growing grass, right? The grass has got to be planted at the 3rd week of August. It has to be. And, they cross their fingers. They don't do really much of anything, not even overseeding in the spring because it's broadleaf season. And it's just throwing grass seed away basically. So you're looking at basically 3 seasons at minimum before you're playing on those fields. And that schedule could be moved up quite a bit by using turf. There's a lot of talk about increased injuries in turf. The people who usually put out those studies are people who grow grass. And the people who put out studies about the dangers of playing on grass are usually the turf companies. So you got to take all those reports with a grain of salt. They're currently in the NVL, there's probably 7, maybe more, 8 schools that have turf and counting. Woodland just got it. We received an email. I'm getting a lot of bullet points that come to mind here. We received an email and the mayor stated publicly that the city would be in charge of replacing these fields when the time comes. The Board of Ed would be in charge of maintaining it. We've already established it's actually a money saver.
The new fields would cost $17,000 a year to maintain.
Yep, that's scrubbing them, that's
That's
grooming them twice a year.
If you want the G-Max.
Yeah.
It would be an extra $350 every 4 years.
So, I welcome anybody who has any questions to just call me or send me an email. I don't like to hear stuff secondhand that is half truths or not true at all.
Mario, I have one question.
Go.
And there's probably no answer to this, but to the point of injuries.
Yes.
We have experience where we played on grass football for years and now we play on turf.
Mhm.
I don't suppose there's any kind of
No.
injury records that have been kept over the years.
No, the last few years, the NFL people have been railing against artificial turf because they're blowing out their knees a lot. But the truth is, they're blowing out their knees because they're 350 pounds and they can run like a gazelle. The Meadowlands specifically is the stadium where the Giants and the Jets play, comes under attack because it's just terrible. It's just they have poor drainage there, and that's why we're doing some of these tests. So players do get hurt there. I coached for 15 years. I had 3 girls tear their ACL in 15 years, probably. And my daughter played. Robin knows she tore hers 3 times, all 3 times on grass. So there's no rhyme or reason for it. If there's an occasional twisted ankle or injured knee, which we would hate to see, you have to counter that argument with the reduction of head injuries. There's no doubt about it. Our grass field at Torrington High School was basically a parking lot. Natural grass and natural turf becomes condensed and compacted over time, and it hardens. Whereas the sand and the rubber and the turf does not. So again, if anybody has any questions, either from the public or from you guys, feel free to ask, but, I need, if you're in favor of it, I need some help pushing it.
Can you play out what happens if the referendum doesn't?
It's the grass fields that we have now.
Okay, right, so it's,
It's not-
and then
Of course,
are
yeah,
we,
possibly.
other than Facebook and sending people to you, I don't know that we can do any, we
Absolutely.
needed a pack before, right, to do a
We
push
did,
to
We
sell
did, I
this,
sent out an email, to see if some of those folks
some of those
were
people, okay,
interested. Kim responded, Carrie would like to help, she's just all over the place.
okay.
What would the actual referendum be? What would the?
Well, that's an interesting point, I'm glad you asked that question, no problem. So, I'm paraphrasing, but it basically says that, got it? All right, I'm paraphrasing, but it basically says we're borrowing $6 million at no additional cost to the taxpayers, roughly in those.
It said $6 million,
Without additional bonding.
right, without additional bonding, and
Oh,
15% is picked up
Yeah.
by,
Casey, I'm glad you said that, because it's important. So.
we met,
Go ahead.
with the city council and board of finance.
Yeah.
Came up with that question, who's paying for the 15%?
Right, so,
I gave them schedule of values for what we're taking out from the grass thing, which came up to $1.5 million.
Right.
I said to them, we'll keep 300,000 as contingency, so you have $1.2 million extra, with
Yeah.
900,000, you know, 6 million, 15% is 900,000, you're covered.
right, so there's two things, that right there. The belief is that our $900,000 portion is gonna be covered by taking out grass, taking out topsoil, taking out irrigation, so on and so forth. The poor guy who's gotta sit there and babysit the grass seed for 3 grow seasons. And on top of that, and this was the state's position, and I'm throwing out numbers, you can correct me. Our taxpayers were on the hook for how much originally?
74 million.
$74 million. And then, and they passed that at referendum. And then Michelle got the reimbursement rate increased, and it went down to
30 something million.
30 million, right? So the state's position is, oh man, you guys are, yes, we will give you this money, because you went from 70 million to 30 million. So we're able to pay for this 2 ways without impacting the taxpayer. Am I right?
Yes,
I don't want to speak out of turn.
no, but I think you did make an incorrect statement about the fact that whether or not, if the referendum fails, we still have the money. So we don't lose the $6 million. So the battle that becomes the battle of language statutorily is the mayor's argument is that when we added $6 million more to this project. So she's under the impression we didn't allocate $6 million. The Department of DAS clearly wrote, yes, we added $6 million more, so the project does go up by $6 million more. The mayor says we did not in statute increase the total dollar of the project. So instead of the 179.6 or whatever it is, we needed to add 6 million more. So what their pushback is the cleaning of the language. So that's why they want the referendum. If the referendum fails, I still have the $6 million. And I had explained this to her before, that when January comes, we can clean up the statutorial language just to increase the total dollar amount of the project. We can't do it now because we're not in session.
Mhm.
So it wasn't anything that DAS thought was an issue. But our bond attorney here in Torrington had advised that it's an issue for our statutory language. But our administrative services feels that it is not an issue at all. And many projects go above the allotment and they have this unwritten contingency anyway, because we know that often things go a little bit haywire. So there's like a 15% bubble that we have anyway in state projects. So if in fact I don't want it to fail, so I'm not advocating for that, but if in fact it does fail, it does not mean you can't have your turf fields. It just means I'm gonna have to go back and change the language. And that won't happen until next session.
Well, it also means that a lot of care has to be given to the language of the referendum if it's not already past a deadline, because if people think they're voting on a turf field.
It doesn't say
have-
turf, it just says
Improvement.
improvement on fields, I believe.
But does
Yeah,
got
what's it say? I have it, but my.
Eleanor has it. I'm sorry. Ellen has it.
Shall the city of Torrington appropriate an additional $6 million, of which $5,100,000 is expected to be financed by state grants, and authorize a zero additional amount of bonds for outdoor athletic facilities to be included in the construction of the new high school, a new middle school, a new central administrative office, and for the demolition of the existing Torrington High School, in parentheses, increasing the appropriation previously approved by the voters from $179,575 to $185,575, and leaving the bond authorization unchanged at $179,575, and parentheses, provided the amount of bonds issued shall be reduced by the grants, such grants expected to be $155,859,731.
all of that has to go in there?
Yeah.
That's what it says,
Kind of great at the bill.
And it's on the back of the ballot.
right?
And a lot of people. well, we're
Yeah,
not gonna
it's
do
really a
that.
yes or no, right, pretty much?
It will be a yes or no.
Yeah, and that's, the explanatory text is, you gotta read it.
Well, yeah.
But
Mario.
people are gonna come out thinking they're voting for what? Not-
And this is why I was suggesting a referendum really is just gonna confuse people.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, it's costing us no more money. So
So what,
That's what
so
they-
do you have?
Well,
we advise no for the sake of all of this conversation. So you can imagine if we're sitting around here, what everybody else feels, right? So that's why the Department of Administrative Services and their lawyers had written down, they do not believe at all, the state does not believe in their attorneys mumbo jumbo that we need a referendum. But if it's what City Hall believes needs to happen, then I can't change that,
It's their call.
right? So that's where we are. I mean,
So theoretically, everybody can vote no. And then we can put it in.
but also, the problem is timing.
right, that's the more critical
That's the
component.
more critical.
So, because I can fix that $6 million that goes nowhere. I can fix that after when the next session, when we vote on things during the next legislative session. The real critical component to this is the timing, because they have to be able to say, hey, look, we're gonna do this. I know the money's there, I know we're not taking it away.
You had a question, Jeff?
I do, Mario, we had a lot of success, the PAC had a lot of success last time with a couple documents that made it very simple, right? This is what we would spend, and this is what we're going to spend, and this is how it saves us money in the long run. We can talk afterwards, but while the PAC doesn't technically exist anymore, access to its social media pages may or may not still exist.
Yeah.
So if we could put together that document, because there's a lot of savings as you outlined, look at, we can cover this from not putting the grass in.
Yeah.
It takes 3 seasons. Another key component to that is what are we saving, even though it's not out of the building committee, what are we saving ongoing for 3 years, not busing our kids to a bunch of different places? So I mean, there's a lot of pieces to this that.
It would cost the Board of Ed, if you had a grass field, $90,000 a year.
That's just with the fields, not with
Oh,
transporting
that's not
everybody
counting the
everywhere
bus
else,
ride.
and the overtime
Jeff,
and,
make-
right.
That's where I'm going.
Just make sure you're clear, it's not 3 years.
But it does include dandelions.
3
It
seasons.
does.
Well, 3 seasons,
Yeah.
right? So fall,
Yes, it
spring,
does.
fall.
Right, right.
But so 3 sports seasons, but my point is those documents were very successful
Many.
in helping the people of this community understand that
Mhm.
this was a great deal.
Yeah,
So, and they looked pretty, I forget who helped us do them at the time, but.
yeah, I don't remember myself.
But if we can get something like that together, I'm sure that stuff can be put out there and help the average.
I got one more question, because I've been asked this. Why wasn't this included in the original?
There was
Alternate.
an alternate for one baseball field and that practice soccer football field. We wanna expand on that with these new monies, you know?
This money wasn't available when we first
Right.
did the project.
Right.
This is
why
a
it
different
wasn't in
pipeline
the
of money.
original.
from the
So,
state.
This is extra grant.
no, I get it, so at the time, there just wasn't enough money to do it.
Correct.
Well, and what ended up happening too, so this was in the original plans. And that's why it was easier to go back and say, hey, look, can we add this onto the project? But as the time went on and prices increased, there were things that we had to get rid of to be able to make this
Yeah.
continue to move forward.
This
I got one,
project,
I got one more
this
question. too.
project was built, don't forget, right during the whole
Right, pandemic increases.
COVID thing and the can't get materials
But
and all
because,
that.
but because we saved money there, and the numbers they were using, there, why are we gonna use numbers that we did, that's not true?
What numbers?
Well, the 179, we just said we're down to 149 and 159.
No, that's the.
No, that's
bonding.
the bonding.
Bond.
That's the bond.
So instead of the 62% on the bonding or
Yeah.
reimbursement, we have 85%.
Was there any way that could be known?
Well, that's, I think you have to do a one pager.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
needs to be the
No
side
one's
by
reading
side.
all that.
No, nobody's reading that and digesting it all while running into the, to vote.
It was 2 columns. It was
Right,
A, this is what it would.
Really,
you have that still.
you're getting a field
Yeah.
and your 15% is being paid through savings, through other savings.
I mean, I think originally, I think what we did is made it even simpler, like you don't have to know anything. Here's what it costs to
Right.
renovate, here's what it costs to
Yeah.
build a new
Yeah.
building. I think with this, it's gotta be, here's what grass costs, here's what turf costs.
That, the turf field would elevate this project to the finest facility in the state.
Yep.
And why don't we deserve that?
So you mentioned timing, so we don't understand, how does the future? If the bond doesn't pass.
Right.
Well, that's really where we're coming from, is that we need to know in advance what we're building. And so we're at the point where we threw out a date to Mario that said, we've already procured most of the product that you have, but I still need to know what I'm grading to. And that work for us begins on January 23rd. I'm gonna take your fields on January 23rd. If I don't know what I'm cutting grade to,
What if
that's
it
the
did
problem. What's that?
What if it doesn't pass, and Michelle goes back to the house and
Get clarification.
what happens?
To me, I need to know yesterday,
Okay.
October, what I'm gonna build. If I get,
Ready in January, you have all the demobilization and recontracting, or
no, it's more just proper planning. They're not putting equipment out there until January 23rd. It's proper planning.
Yeah.
Is there a date?
Michelle, how would that work if he needs the field by the 20th? Is that doable if the referendum doesn't pass? Is it doable on your end?
Well, I think you're
So
gonna,
we don't open session back until the second Wednesday in January or the first Wednesday after the first Tuesday, either way. So, I mean, I can guarantee you that it happens, but it's just gonna be more formality at that point. I mean, because I've already talked to them, they know the situation that we're in. They've been along with us on this ride the entire time, and they've been very good about helping us in any way, shape, or form. And they have said very clearly, we can go back and fix that language. It's just, we can't do it statutorily until we back in. So
so confidence is high enough,
absolutely,
even if the referendum doesn't pass.
right.
This group would still need to make a decision on what product they're gonna build. And that product needs to be known to me, as soon as it can be delivered.
When do you lose the ability to get out of the grass?
Unless you make the decision to move forward based on the confidence that
Either
Michelle
way.
has.
Well, the next meeting, we won't know. You're saying October and the election is November. So
Already,
I have just two questions. One is just fiscal responsibility. We're hearing, we can basically authorize you to do turf if we want turf, regardless of what happens at the referendum. But is there any kind of fiduciary responsibility to making that call before we know the true results of a referendum? And then number two, I do worry about public fallout. If we authorize something and it doesn't pass, can we pull back? Once we say to you, let's say in October, we tell you to go for it. Is it something grading with the process of being grading?
no, it's a little deeper than that, in that
We can't.
the design document that needs to be in hand and understood needs to be developed.
Right,
And most of all, we have a referendum, whether we agree with it or not, and we have to have the buy-in from the residents and city hall. I mean,
Well, I think the mayor is.
yeah, no, I think the mayor truly wants it. I think she's being cautious
Yeah.
and she's following the advice of her legal team.
So what I hear you saying though is even if the referendum doesn't pass, even if we have this 6 million, we're not gonna do it. We're gonna follow whatever.
I think we cross one bridge at a time. I have faith. Based on what Jeff says and other people, right? If we sell it properly. I mean, how could you say no? But I don't want to insult anybody, but it's really comes down to that.
Yeah, it's just that if nobody's paying attention and if we don't get the
I
word
know.
out, all that referendum language sounds like to an average quick reader who wants to go
I
home
know.
make dinner is, we're gonna look for more money.
I
That's
know.
all.
Right.
That's
No.
it.
Well,
It's
we
done.
gotta get the word out that that's not what it means.
It's
Um,
also gonna be higher turnout than we had for the last referendum, because
Yeah.
it's presidential, so.
Well, that one
Well,
was,
we had a presidential.
Yeah,
we had-
the first
Yes.
was
The
presidential,
first one was
Yeah,
presidential,
second one.
right.
but the second one was
So-
not.
we just need
So
people to
again,
turn over
it
the
just-
ballot.
I think a lot of
perspective of the
people like
public,
it.
I guess. So, so the referendum fails.
Mhm.
Public doesn't think we're getting our turf fields. Everybody knows it's a turf field.
Yeah.
That we're talking about. They don't get the turf field. They vote it down. Now all of a sudden they get a turf field.
No, I know.
We know.
No, I know. I know. So listen, I think, again, it's gotta be buy-in, Torrington Youth Soccer, the Little Leagues. Anybody who does anything on grass in this town knows that having those fields is gonna be a saving grace to them, because try to go to Albert Park after a rainstorm and play a Torrington Youth Soccer game, you need a life preserver, right? So,
There's a lot of parents who work with this person.
I
Yeah,
don't see it
we
failing.
just gotta get the message out that,
Yeah.
honest to goodness, no, we're not lying, this is at no
Correct.
more cost to you. That's all we gotta do. And we did it once, and I don't see why we can't do it again.
Yes.
I think the other thing that parents, when looking at Torrington Youth Soccer, is the shortage of bus drivers. Finding spaces to play all these games while we're down fields.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna mention the town who constantly calls that they can't get a bus to get. We don't wanna be that. And I
Right.
think people need to understand that it won't be business as usual for 2 years or
Right.
3 years. if
Yeah.
They don't get this.
No, it's,
And I think that if we could figure out a way from the Board of Ed's perspective to put a dollar figure on what it would cost us,
that's fine.
right? I think that's the issue here, right? Turf field costs us no money. Grass field costs us, you
I
fill
have
in the
that
blank.
already. We have that. We gave
Yeah, but
them-
what I'm saying, Ed, right, I know what we have, the 1 point whatever million for this, the installation and the maintenance. But I'm talking above and beyond that, because it's gonna cost us overtime for coaches, it's gonna cost us overtime for buses, then it's gonna cost us buses. Let alone the extra time that it's gonna be kids to be away from home or away from homework. So I mean, all of that into the cost, aisle there, as opposed to the other side. That's what I'm talking about. I think that is it's what you're saying. There's 2 columns.
Right.
And this saves us money, this costs us a lot. And that's, I think, what really it is. And it's also gonna cost you, 3 years of no home games.
Well, and here's the
And
big,
that's huge for
here-
people that really have pride in their.
here's
in
the
their-
biggest expense. 2 years from now, that place will be loaded with cabbage and dandelions. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
I grew up in the shadow of that high school, that's all it's ever been.
But
So-
your senior citizens that aren't gonna care about that.
No, I understand.
So we can either crowd them with all this stuff that doesn't matter. The other thing, I think you have to have a sod column, because everyone keeps saying, why don't you guys look at sod? It's somewhere in the middle.
Well, it might be 2 fields instead of 3, it might be. $1,000,000.
Well, sod could be possible, but you're not gonna, get that savings from removing the irrigation. You might reduce it, but you're not gonna remove it, right? Cause you gotta water it.
But that's all I'm saying is
Right,
to show.
advertising, know that.
Right.
Like, it's 6 million.
Yeah.
It's already, it's not gonna raise your taxes. 'cause
Correct.
It's already in there, right?
Correct.
So we saved because we got a better reimbursement, so it's not gonna cost the taxpayers anything. But we have to do this referendum.
You know what we need too, I think I mentioned this to you. We, when this project was passed, it was X amount that your mill rate was gonna go up.
Right.
Now we need to know Now we're gonna give you turf fields potentially, and your mill rate is here, and it's even much lower than it was going to be. We really need that calculation. I don't know who does it.
Based on 62%, not the 85.
Yeah,
Right, so the mill rate jump, which is what gets me frustrated, was that it was, your mill rate was calculated on a 62% reimbursement, not an 85%
That's
reimbursement.
correct.
So your mill rate did not go up
That's
the
what
way
my
that
point
it
is.
was originally
It's a
intended to go up.
240 per person.
And voted to.
Tax
And,
cost.
right, and they voted for it to go up, right?
Right, that's my point. That's a good message to get across. When we built the school, we told you your taxes are going up this much.
Because of the 62%.
This is what it's really going up.
Right,
And you're getting a better athletic complex.
right.
So is the proposal that the $950 would be paid out of the savings that the building committee would have?
That's
900,000.
based on the preliminary numbers, yes.
Yes.
Because I think that's an important piece, because I don't think you should tell people it's costing nothing. I think you
And we-
just.
we told- I
show
told
this
them-
is
yeah, I
existing
told
in
the Board of
budget,
Finance.
Budget transfer,
That's-
basically.
Yeah, I told the Board of Finance, the city council, I gave them the schedule of values.
That's all I could do, because it's not giving me anything yet.
So yes, I mean, it's, that's the truth.
Well, that's the big problem, though, is getting the word out, because you can't put all that information into the referendum. So you've got it out, getting the word out to everybody, and hopefully,
Yep.
you can motivate that.
We need to figure.
And that newspaper article didn't help. It just confused people.
Oh, it's very confusing.
I mean,
There's-
I
there's
told
been a few
Sloan,
of
I
them.
said this was not well written at all to help this problem.
Let's talk after, let's just get
So
all the
can you wait
details and
till
a summary, so we can
November? Can you not wait
give
till
people.
November?
the
No,
He's waiting till
he's waiting
November.
till November.
They know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what all, that's all it was.
We saw the contractors today.
It's the preliminary part, you know, the design part.
Is there a way to like word it that even if the referendum doesn't pass, we can still?
No.
I really don't want to get into that.
No, I know.
That's
but-
mucky.
Lucky.
They're gonna burn crosses on us.
And then my yard, so let's not do that. I mean, look, I'll cross that bridge, God forbid that we get to there. But I think that the more issue is, right, so I know what I can do on my end. I think the more critical component is the building end. Right, and because you all don't have an extra $6 million floating around in the contingency, and if you did, then this conversation would kind of be moot. Because then you already know that you can pay it, and then it would just be a backfill. But that's not where we're at. Did I say that right?
Here we are.
So, okay, just, I didn't go.
I know.
Okay, thank you. So again, ONG is gonna have that 8-week course that we have with the kids.
ONG
And also, yeah, and also I spoke to Yolanda. She's waiting for the state to approve a grant so we can have those 120 hours for those 10 kids. Who, 8 of them passed everything. They got the $500 and so forth. So we're just waiting for Yolanda to get the money from the state to start that other program.
Just thank you, Mario, for taking some of our staff on the tour yesterday. It was.
The ladies love it. Yeah, all ladies and Mike.
It was, well, mine was there,
Yes.
right? It was very well received. People who hadn't seen the space, it was absolutely gorgeous. I haven't been there in a while. But it was very nice. I'm sorry that I didn't wait till next week when the elevators kind of do.
Right, you did walk some
I
miles
did
yesterday.
walk some
Let me
steps.
tell you, when you tour the whole place rather than just the high school,
It's 5,000
that's a lot.
steps.
Yeah. It's quite,
But it's
quite beautiful. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Every time I look at that building, I can't believe that's gonna be in Torrington. It's crazy.
It's, people come up to us and they love it, you know, I mean, it's great. It's a great thing for the city of Torrington. So it's gonna change.
I do have one other thing, and I mean this with the utmost respect for you guys, because I appreciate everything you're doing, but I think what's hard for some of us is you guys are in all these meetings, and that's great, and we appreciate that so much, but we don't know a lot of the stuff that goes on in that, which we shouldn't know everything, but I think like the move, people are starting to get nervous because it's coming fast approach. You know, we have to answer to the community because people think we're on the building committee and we know what's going on. So I'm sure behind the scenes you guys have it under control, but I wasn't able to answer the simplest question of, have we contracted with someone to be removed? I didn't think we had.
We did, I'm sure you're probably, speaking of the newspaper article.
That, yeah, but I also had members of the community reach out to me and I
Yeah.
was a little bit
Yeah.
embarrassed because I didn't know.
You could imagine that moving a 300,000 square foot school doesn't wait until the last 8 weeks.
I get that, but I'm saying from the building committee, I don't want you guys to take it personally, but the building committee should know that so that we're not embarrassed when people
Yeah,
are
just-
asking us those questions.
Just let you know, on March 21st, 2024, it was on the agenda. Item number F, utilization of state contract for moving services. That was posted, the mayor got it, city council got it, everybody got it on the 18th.
Nobody said nothing.
Nobody said anything.
No, because, but we didn't select someone or we didn't, you didn't tell us we hired this person.
No, we went with the state contract, utilized the state contract, and that's what
But
we
we
did.
didn't know the bidders.
Right,
We didn't.
we didn't
or
know.
who it
There's
went
no
out.
bidders, it's the
'Cause it
state
went out.
contract.
That's an improvement, right?
It's the same,
We did with the
All I'm
same
technology.
thing
saying
that
is,
Farmington
if
is.
you guys, I appreciate everything you're doing, but you guys wouldn't want to be in a position where people are
That's
asking you stuff and you have no idea what's going on.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
And then, we have other companies saying they're gonna contest this decision. So I just think we all need to be on the same
Yeah,
page of,
well,
yes,
this,
we
in
can
this
use the
particular
state
case,
contract.
this local company was asking why we didn't ask them to bid. We didn't ask any electricians to bid, we didn't ask any site contractors to bid. We didn't pursue anybody to bid this job. If you're interested in bidding the job, you pick up the phone a year in advance of the move. And you say, hey, what's going on with the move? What do I need to do? So I explained to her, I know her, and I explained to her that it came off the state list. And she should get on that state list if she wants to do, more school moves, and she registered.
Registered, now she has to go through.
Now she has to go through the vetting.
Vetting aspect, financials, everything. Can she do it? How many trucks does she have? How many people does she have?
Right.
Does she have things to move CNC
And
machines?
that is why there is this state list, so communities like us don't have to do all that legwork. These people,
So then,
are approved.
I just want to understand this so that as the questions are coming, we can explain it. So if there's 10 people on the state list, how do you determine who of those 10
Yeah,
people?
there's only 2 people on the state list
for movers,
for movers. We went through, there's 2 of them. The one who we selected has done 90% of all the schools in the state of Connecticut. They've just finished Farmington High School. And I gave the list, somebody wanted and she didn't even put it in the paper. I gave her a list because it's on the website, state website, of how many schools they've done since June, and they're the biggest one in the state of Connecticut. They do all of them.
Yeah.
They have all the,
so
So does the building committee, do we have a list of just all of the ones that we awarded off the state?
oh, just 2, the technology package and the moving package.
Okay, so go through them.
It's really, yeah, I mean,
I think you'll find you'll have more.
went out for bids, yeah, but it's not part of your scope.
Correct.
So you didn't go off the proposal.
Correct. There'll be more, you think, going forward?
Yeah, as far as your state bid list, I think a good portion of your furniture comes off the state bid list. A portion of the technology comes off the state bid list.
all of the phones from Cisco are on the state bid list. They come off, they're there.
I think nobody's questioning that,
No,
I
no.
think is that people don't understand it and that creates confusion and. Local companies saying, we didn't even get a chance at this, and so I think it's just. Understand that these are approved, it's legal.
Yeah, I tried to be helpful to her and tell her what the process was. And maybe it works out for her in the long run.
And we contacted the purchasing department, they've done it. I've asked Penny, how does she word it? She gave me the wording. They do it all the time.
Okay, so maybe just at the next meeting, maybe if we can just get an update of what the. Cost value of those contracts that were entered into with those things would be helpful for me. Thank you.
We competitive, but
I think a lot of it was state contracted, so was the
Please
technology.
understand that.
Yeah, we
All
saved
for the budget.
from the budget.
Correct.
But I think you guys on this. But we did, and the general public doesn't at all, but we know more than the general public, but if they ask us. Okay, we're sure they follow the proper procedure, but we don't know, you know what I mean?
And just like, what is the cost of the contract that we entered in for the move? Like, that's what people are wondering. I don't know.
$200,000 is the max that they will be charging to moving from the high school stuff and the middle school stuff. That's will not exceed 200,000.
Yeah, and I think that's what
Yeah.
is helpful because it's going around town that it's costing 600,000 to move and the Board of Eds
Well,
have to pick up. So I think it's just
That's,
like we do everything else. It's just put out, this is what it is and it's budgeted for. And
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm good, thank you.
That's it.
What time is it?
Arma, no, he had to leave. He had to leave. How about
7:08.
John?
John's there.
John?
No, who's gonna watch it?
Okay,
Have a motion to,
well, we gotta talk about our next.
No, his mic.
oh, the next date, I'm sorry, forgot about that. Next date is October 17th.
Oh, John's on there.
Yeah, he just unhooked his mic.
That's
No, I just turned it off when you asked me to turn it off, or turn it on when you asked me to turn it on.
Anything-
I'm here. I'm just not very presentable.
Oh,
I'm here.
I won't ask.
TMI.
Ah,
What?
Hi.
Anything, John? To add?
No. Interesting discussion. Plus you saved me from going to the Republican Town Committee meeting tonight by running so long. So thank you.
All righty,
Yeah.
October 17th,
motion to adjourn.
October 17th.
So moved.
Okay, yeah.